Dr. Lee Green. What do you think? Doctor. Don't sound right, does it? Yet Dr. Patrick sounds great. And that is my guest today. And he's an amazing man. Hold on. This is going to be one bumpy ride. So buongiorno and welcome to my Thinking podcast hosted by me, Lee Greeno, here live from the Man Cave every week. Now, today I'm speaking to the brilliant Dr. Patrick. Dr. Patrick has run a company called The Wellness Way for many years, and it's really fascinating, this interview. Fascinating stuff they do. They look at the diagnostics of the body. It's not just conventional, right, let's get you in surgery. They look at everything to do with your lifestyle, what you're up to, and giving you a good old diagnostic. I keep saying diagnostic, just trying to act really clever. But it's fascinating, his thoughts on health and well-being, and he's got such great points on it to someone who's talking to me who I haven't got a bloody clue, but even I understood where he was coming from. It's really interesting chat. Trust me. Remember, there's only 4 rules on the show: no bullshitting, no judging, no negativity, and 4, have fun. Okay, let's get started. Here's my brilliant interview with the amazing Dr. Patrick. Okay, so welcome to My Way of Thinking podcast, and today we have a very special guest on. It is the one and only Mr. Dr. Patrick Flynn. Woo!
Wow, thank you for that great interest in all the wars. That was fantastic.
So how are you? Are you okay?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great here in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Oh, brilliant. Well, this is how I always start an interview. Is I always talk about the different places, especially because I haven't visited certain places. I've been to America a few times, but Green Bay just never even thought about it really. And then when I saw it, I thought, great. So I thought I'd start the interview by just asking you a couple of things about Green Bay and seeing if Google is completely correct or completely wrong.
Yes.
Okay, right. Let's give it a go. So the Green Bay, the city, is named after part of Lake Michigan. It's separated from the rest of the lake by a bit of land called Dorr Peninsula. It was originally called the Bay of Stinkers because of the green algae in the stagnant water, aka the Green Bay. Is this correct?
That is correct. Actually, it is. And it's kind of funny because sometimes people, if you look at a map, people think the bay is separate from Lake Michigan, but it's not. It's just the way they teach it like it's a separate body of water, but it's exactly the same.
Oh, right. So that's an interesting one. Now, of course, we've got to talk about football, American football, because that is the big sport there. Now, apparently, fans are often called cheeseheads because of Wisconsin is known for its cheese production, and because of the massive foam fromage hats people started wearing in the 80s. Apparently, this was meant as a taunt for Illinois football and baseball.
Yes, for the Chicago Bears, you betcha.
Is there a big rivalry there then, Patrick?
Huge rivalry and stuff. It's a very nice rivalry, but it's fantastic. And yes, and I personally have a cheesehead myself.
Because I can understand with the rivalry. We've just played. Our big sport is football, of course, over here, soccer, and we're playing in the Euros competition at the minute. And we've just played Scotland, and the rivalry is just out of this world. I mean, it's all friendly banter.
Yes.
But God, does each side want to win?
Yes, same here. It's like it's a little bit of a religion here and stuff, so it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, now the National Railroad Museum may not be everyone's cup of tea, but every October the grounds open up to a host of Terror on the Fox, a train ride and haunted house that has consistently been called one of the best haunts in America. Do you know about this?
Yes, it's actually a fantastic fundraiser for the community. It's well done. The people have put together fantastic. They do a great job. I encourage everybody to come check it out. You'll just really love the Halloween festivity that happens there. So it's great.
They really go for it. I mean, we're a bit better over here in the UK with Halloween, but we're nowhere near. We don't celebrate it as well as in America, which is a bit sad, really. I would love to come over there and spend Halloween over there. It's pretty amazing. Okay, and then the final thing. Now, this is an interesting one. This is not even a fact. I tend to buy things just on a bit of a splurge, bit of an on-the-moment thing, and I've bought a kayak. Now, in the
Yes.
UK, we don't have Lake Michigan. We have canals. Pretty boring, to be honest with you. We do have little pots of water here and there. We have the Lake District, which we have to travel to. What's it like living next to Lake Michigan? Is it always beautiful to you, or are you used to it now? And do you do water sports on it? How is it?
You'd be surprised. It's not Lake Michigan that drives people to do most of the watering around here. We have a ton of private lakes that are fantastic, and rivers, and that's where kayaking happens because you don't need the body of water to move. So we're big water people up here, even though we are cold basically 9 months out of the year. We still spend a lot of time in the water, and kayaking is one of them that way. So it's absolutely a wonderful sport up here. And Lake Michigan is gorgeous to see every day, but believe it or not, you don't spend a lot of time on there because it's just a bigger body of water, bigger waves, things like that. So a kayak would be thrown around pretty crazy in Lake Michigan.
Right. Okay. Any tips for me on kayaking? Because I've never done it before.
Yes, go on a very fast river, and it's dramatically fun. Dramatically fun.
Well, hold on. I'm taking my 12-year-old daughter with me, so if she falls out the boat, it won't be fun.
No, good life preserver, and she'll be just fine.
Well, look, thanks ever so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And I can't remember how we connected. It's quite amazing with the pandemic and everything, how we all connect now. And it's quite nice that people we would have never connected with before, we actually do from across the world. I think it was through Jamie, one of your friends or someone who works with you?
Yeah, Jamie's sitting right to my right here.
Oh, right. Hello, Jamie. Hello.
And Jamie Lee says hi. So, yes.
But it really interested me about, obviously, what you're doing with the Wellness Way Clinic, because it's a massive talking point. But before we talk about that, go back to how it all started for you. Was it something, did you always want to get involved in medicine at school and college, or was it something you got into later in life?
No, actually, as a little kid, it comes, I think that a lot of people's ventures in life based on their experiences. And mine, I experienced as if we go back to even third grade, I was diagnosed as a juvenile delinquent. And I was basically told I was not going to become anything, and didn't realize if we fast forward to today, and I'll still share the backstory, there was, not being healthy, being ill led me to why I had behavioral and different other problems going on, even though my parents treated me very good. I was well taken care of. I was disciplined well, good discipline, everything like that. It was just that my brain was going 100 miles an hour, and to the point where my skin always felt like it was crawling. And I didn't really put two and two together until I was in my teenage years. And that's what stemmed my idea to looking more into health, because the current medical system failed me dramatically. And so therefore, we all know this. If doors keep being closed, people just go different doors. And let's say there's not a door, then I had to create one. And that's how the Wellness Way, which, for example, obviously people know I'm here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, but we went from one clinic to over 80 over the world and growing. And so it stemmed from a simple aspect of being a sick child with no answers. But I was always encouraged by my parents to say, if there's not a path, create one. And that's kind of what happened. And of course, I've been doing this now for 21 years. It's now spread not only from, like I said, to Green Bay to all over. And now we've actually started to even go over to Europe and stuff.
Yeah. Do you think, because I've spoke to a couple of guests, one, a guy called James, he had autism, an ADHD, and similar thing over here. He went through his younger years quite frustrated, not understanding that there was a problem with him. And he didn't find out till he was sort of in his teenage years, probably later teenage. He got diagnosed incorrectly, wrong medication. He had a really rough time of it. How do you think we can get better? Because it's happening over here in the UK, it's happening over there in America. What do you think we can do to change that?
I think it could be addressed, but what happens, the thinking has to change. So let me give an example. Yeah. I believe that if everybody can grasp this analogy, then you can answer so many healthcare questions, including COVID, that are still not answered today unless you kind of live in our world. Now, let me explain.
Yeah.
See, I would, just like that guy you're just describing, if they would have had the medications they have today, they would have medicated me probably like crazy, but they didn't have that what they did, 35, 40 years ago, because I'm 46 now. And really my teenage years, 13s, when we really started to figure out what was going on. But here's the thing is, without changing the thinking, because our whole system, and here's the analogy I want you to think about. The reason why that individual was frustrated and the things that happen in Medicaid, because when anybody gets sick or anybody has something wrong, I would say medicine, to describe them in a very good description of them, which is still respects what they do, but it's never going to answer the questions of autism, ADHD, or even COVID, which we will get to. Think of this. Medicine's like the fire department, okay? They actually do everything they can to stop your house. So let's create the analogy of the body as your house. They stop it from burning down. That's why you hear about all these treatments to try to help people survive COVID, survive these conditions, survive a heart attack, survive. Because if your house is on fire, you may need axes and hoses, drugs, or surgery to put out the fire, okay? So therefore, if you look at that individual that actually had autism, the individual that suffered from ADHD, there's a condition that developed already. And now they only have axes and hoses, drugs, or surgery to try to deal with it. So we have fire department thinking. Do you follow my analogy on this?
Yeah.
Well, I had to come along and say, listen, as a kid, I had to go through the fire department already kind of on fire. And the sad part is this, we all know this. The fire department, even if they come there and get there on time, they cause destruction through the process. But we're just happy that our house didn't fully burn down. And that's healthcare today. We look at going, man, that doctor did a wonderful job of saving that person from a heart attack. Great, but he still has a rotten house on the inside. So I came up and said, listen, there needs to be a whole different thinking and approach that you have to look at from a carpenter standpoint. We need to take care of this house. We need to make sure they're constantly rebuilding it. We need to maintain it that way, because fires are preventable. Yes, I understand that if you get struck by lightning, you get hit by a car, guess what happens? If the house gets hit by a lightning, it doesn't matter how well the carpenter takes care of the house. There's going to be instances where the fire department is necessary because there's emergencies. But if we don't change our thinking, we're always going to let people catch fire, which most fires are preventable. That's why even statistically, 95% of all healthcare conditions are lifestyle issues. And that's been well documented. So I came along going, what if ADHD, what if all these things were preventable? What if we could find the triggers to those things and start to remove them? And that's when I realized medicine had failed me as a child. So I started to look at those. And that I was going, oh my goodness. Now it's kind of common knowledge today that we know that a significant amount of our neurotransmitters are produced in our GI. There's a significant amount of neurotransmitters produced by our immune system. So therefore, there can be physical and psychological things that happen just by irritating them, by triggering them, okay? And so I started the whole approach of being a carpenter type doctor. And it started simply here in Green Bay, December 27th, 1999. And I started to get the clinical results that everybody really wants, which is to be a healthy individual, and start to watch these conditions reverse of all kind. And I built my whole world on fertility, which we'll get on that. But then nice thing is then all professional doctors and healthcare providers started to go, what are you doing? And I started to share with them. And now still to this day, from no joke, from medical to natural to every practitioner on the planet now is calling me going, hey, not only the fact that you have a good idea, but you've now replicated almost all over the world. And that's why we have clinics all over and continue to grow massively, because the fire department thinking is so dominant today.
I love that analogy, and I totally get it. I think over here, what I've heard with the stories is sometimes it's the different healthcare professionals, and it's like a journey of trying to get to the answer. And the problem with that is it takes time. So when you're younger and you're not getting diagnosed correctly, that has a serious effect on your mental health, especially if it goes on for, I mean, I've heard cases where it goes on for like, 10, 20 years, which is frightening, isn't it? Do you think that sometimes it is down to the healthcare professional being a bit, I mean, is it easily, because I think some healthcare professionals, I have no idea, but are they a bit stuck in their ways with the old systems and don't want to look into new medicines and things like that? Do you think that's part of it?
There's a population that is like that.
Yeah.
But there's a dramatic population of doctors that are not. But here's what happens. We've seen this with our current healthcare situation. If you at all think outside the box, the establishment that controls everything, which isn't the doctors, it's even been shown drug companies, business dominates what you're allowed to do, because then if a doctor starts to move out of their box a little bit, they will try to crucify them. The cool thing is this, nobody controls what I do. So it was easy for me to go like, and because you saw doctors get threatened to say, maybe there are some things that can help with COVID or any other condition. And then the medical fields, and it doesn't matter if it's UK, doesn't matter if it's United States, they're dominated by the uppers is, no. You are trained and you're going to give this drug, you're going to give this vaccine, you're going to do what we tell you. Otherwise, we're going to kick you out of the country club. And the country club is insurance. The country club is hospitals. The country club, there's doctors that reach out to me every day and say, Doc, I can't even stand this Covaxin. I see so many destructions happen to it. I had a medical doctor the other day from Missouri called me and said, I have had so many negative side effect reactions, these people. She goes, I can't even do it anymore. But she goes, my job is threatened because if I don't follow what they tell me to do. And see, so there's great individual doctors out there that are saying there's a better way. But since it's so up-down controlled, doctors don't have control of what they do anymore. And it's not like that's a secret. And so the sad part is this, I just said, guess what? I started my career saying, I'm going to do this with my background. I'm going to move in this direction. And I said, listen, the one thing that I've always realized is the public can demand, and that's what people don't realize. It may start with one individual, but the public can create some massive momentum and can shift everything. But it doesn't mean that governments won't try to shift everything back. And you're seeing that today. The United States spent $3 billion on promoting COVID vaccine. Yet guess what happens? The majority of the United States still hasn't taken it.
I think it's over here we have the NHS. Now, you've got to, from me living here all my life, I've got to admit the NHS is pretty phenomenal. They're healthcare professionals that are sort of working towards a common goal. We pay it in our taxes or however we do it, but if I break my leg, I can go to hospital. I don't need to worry about insurances and things like that. I feel as if over in America, it's such big business. Do you think that causes a serious problem when people are being treated as well, because it's all about the money and not about just, do you see what I mean? I know it's controversial to say it.
It's not controversial. It's actually, I'm hugely involved politically. Hugely. Okay. Do you understand that this is a political move? This has nothing to do with healthcare. This has nothing to do with healthcare. Because I got a quick question for everybody, because being a carpenter doctor, we ask different questions than the fire department medical system. And I got a question that anything that you do, here, watch this. And Lee, you can answer these questions. And even though you may have a system that reflects a little bit more patient-centered, it's still based on the wrong thinking. Let me explain. So I got a question for you. How many drugs do you need to be healthy?
Well, I'd like to think none.
That's the point. See, but watch this. But Lee, think about it this way. And everybody that's listening right now, do me a favor. And raise your hand if you want to be healthy. Every person's going to raise their hand. Raise your hand if you want your family, your kids, your in-laws, everybody healthy. Yes. So let me ask you a question then from the fire department medical thinking, as you get my analogy. Yeah. How many drugs do you need to be healthy? And like, well, none. That actually the funny part is a drug can hurt you and make you unhealthy. Okay. Now remember, Leslie, then I got another question for you. How many surgeries do you need to be healthy?
I'd like to think
that's the point. None. So here's, I know it sounds simple, but remember, I'm a carpenter, ask the right questions. It's like this. Do we have a headache because we lack aspirin in our body? Well, people go, well, no. See, so we're going to a system that can't deliver what everybody wants. And so that's why I said my realm is health and how to achieve it. It's a carpenter type perspective that way. And here's what happens this. So when you ever hear about Corona and COVID, all they're talking about is fires. We got to put them out. And I'm sitting there going, well, guess what? Fires are preventable. Why do you think that 99.97% of people under age 65 will have absolutely no issue with it? But the people that did die, guess what happens? They had a rotten house. So what we really should be doing is asking, how do we keep people strong, not protect the weak? You can't protect the weak. You cannot protect the weak. You don't make the only way you make the weak better is make them strong. Yeah. But here's what happens. So I got a question for you. I got a simple question for you, Lee.
Yeah.
Does the COVID vaccine make you healthy?
I haven't got. No, I think
No,
it just.
it actually makes a lot of people sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, so therefore, it's actually contradictory to what people really want. But see, our government, especially, and even your government too, because I've watched it, it's actually controlled from top down. And so Pfizer comes along, Moderna comes along, and they're paying all the government officials a lot of money. And that's what it comes down to. This was a big grab to get people to do something. And the sad part where we do differ a little bit this way, choice is a very important thing. Freedom is a very important thing. And I don't care if you want to eat every Twinkie in the world. I don't care if you want to do everything bad for your body. Guess what happens? It should be your choice.
Yeah.
And that where I stood up a long time ago, and I've been fighting this for a long time, is just for people to have their choice. Because I got a question for you: if it's our government or your government, who should have the right to make healthcare decisions for you and your family? You or the government?
Oh yeah, of course, me. Yeah.
See, so that thing. So it's a simple message: is I don't care what you do with your body. And guess what happens? Because here's what happens. Over here, there's massive influence because all it takes is money. And guess what happens? That's where our system is set up fantastic for freedom, unless the money is involved with it that way, because there's people that want to take you away from freedom for their benefit. It's really sad.
Yeah, I suppose that's frustrating for you, and especially when you first got into medicine, is to help people. That is number one. And then I suppose some doctors and surgeons get into the profession and sort of cynically start thinking about money and cost. So when someone needs to be diagnosed and given treatment, it's always in the back of your mind. That's quite sad, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, the thing is this, I always tell people, we're having a great conversation about this. You know what's really interesting? And Lee, I apologize. Do you have any children?
Yeah. I have a daughter, 12, and a boy.
If she was sick, what would you pay and where would you travel if you knew somebody had the answer?
Oh God, yeah. You do whatever you can, yeah.
That's my point. See, the idea is this. So I always had the thing since I started practice when I was 24 years old. Okay. Mm-hmm. And get this. And I said, listen, if I can offer a life-changing service to people, that guess what? Money's never going to be an issue. And I've proven that now since December of 1999. And I just said, listen, here's what we need to do. I wasn't going to play the insurance game. I wasn't going to play the healthcare game. I wasn't going to let government or anybody dictate what I did. I said, here's what happens is I'm going to take this wellness way approach, this carpenter type perspective, and start doing things and testing things differently that way. Because see, I had an experience to where when I was still in college, just finishing up graduate school, and I was in my last trimester of Palmer, and all of a sudden I ran into this beautiful woman who, no joke, was absolutely drop dead gorgeous, 23 years old, and fell in love with her right away. And actually, no joke, Lee, on the second day we started dating, she said, I'm going to marry you. And it was kind of cool.
Corny.
And it was beautiful. And no joke, I can still remember that day like it was yesterday. And now we are celebrating our 20th year marriage this year.
Oh, congrats.
But on top of it, she actually was going to end our relationship, not in a negative way, but after a couple weeks of dating, she knew I wanted to have kids someday and she couldn't have kids.
Oh, right. Okay.
And because all the medical fire department people said, you can't have children, because she was sick when I met her. She had endometriosis. She also had colitis. She actually had cystic acne. She had cluster headaches. So they almost wanted to take her uterus out as a teenager because it was so bad. Wow. But remember, and she saw good, caring medical fire department people that way, but they don't know how to get a body healthy and get a uterus and stuff normal. And so what I did is I used that approach to now where we have 4 beautiful daughters today.
Wow, that's great.
And realize that the medical system itself actually has such an incomplete view on the body that it even leads to the decisions they're doing with COVID today that make no sense if you understand health. It makes no sense if you understand the human body. Yeah. And that's where I come along and go, and instead of people, now the public has listened like crazy, and it got me a platform all over the world, even though I already had a ton of clinics all over the world. But what happened is social media said, nope, don't want to hear that narrative. And I got censored and I got things like that. So it was kind of fun. So, and here's what happens. You just ask some basic questions, because I'm going to teach you a carpenter type thinking, and no one, even medical field, goes, That makes sense and stuff like that. But see, it doesn't follow the narrative of what our government doesn't follow the narrative of what pharmaceutical drug companies want to do. And that's why all you hear is Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson and going, but they don't have an answer to get us through it anyways.
Yeah. So you're causing a revolution then?
Well, I'm just trying to plant a seed in people's minds.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people, I'm like mental herpes. Okay. It's like, I was going to plant a seed, but guess what happens? It just doesn't seem to go away. And so,
yeah.
Because here,
don't put that on your poster, will you?
That's right. So I am Dr. Flynn is mental herpes. Okay. And this happens all the time because you think I'm joking. People watch my video and they'll sometimes even be angry about it, but they'll stick in their mind. And then as they do some more research, they go, man, Dr. Flynn said this. I called this years ago and stuff like that. That's why if you go back to my past videos and stuff, even with the whole thing that when it starts, I said, here's what's going to happen. This is not new. They've been trying to do this for a long time over here and stuff. So long story short is like, but here, no matter what comes about this way, here's a question that I always pose to people. Regardless of what condition, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, which all over the world, no joking. I was over speaking in Ireland last year before they closed everything down.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? I go over there, even though they have universal health care, they're just as sick over there as they are over here. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, infertility, all continue to rise because the fire department medical thinking allows people's houses to rot. And so when it catches fire, like, oh my goodness, we got to save your life. But do not confuse saving a life with being a healthy individual. Yeah. And that's why you ever notice their concepts have allowed people to actually be very rotten on the inside, but because they can extend your life a little bit, we think that that's healthcare. It's actually not at all.
Yeah. So with the wellness way, what you're doing is alongside healthcare professional, it's offering another service to people.
Yep, another service.
So if someone was ill and they automatically go to the doctor or they go to the hospital, how does your service work differently and tie in with that?
Absolutely. So let me give you a perfect example. And because a lot of people know me as a hormone guy and stuff like that, I'm going to come from this perspective and let's do this. Okay. Yep. So Lee, we're men. Okay. I'm 46. How old are you, Lee?
I'm 45. So you
excellent. Okay.
We've still got our looks.
Yes. Well, think about this. I want you to really think about this. Okay. What's the hormone that makes us who we are?
The hormone that makes up. Yeah. I really thought about that. Well, I suppose it's testosterone.
There you go. See, everybody knows that. Every woman knows that. It's like testosterone. Now, do we have more hormones than this? Yes, but it's the dominant male hormone that controls us physically and psychologically. You follow me in that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to think about that because that's important because I'm going to show you the major difference of thinking. So I want you to think about this. So it creates behavioral changes. It creates physical changes. But let me ask you a question, Lee. Since you hit puberty, which roughly been about 13 to 15 years old, have you had your testosterone measured every single year to make sure it was normal?
No, no, I haven't.
But the sad part is this, but I just taught you that hormone controls you both physically and psychologically. So let's say you're having behavioral issues. Let's say you're having physical issues. It's the building block hormone for your life. But because until there's a fire, until there's prostate cancer, impotence, things like that, they don't even check it. See, if you're looking to stay healthy, you need to make sure, and here's what happens, and here's what the medical profession does. They'll say, well, it's very common for a person after the age of 30 for the testosterone to go down. No, it's not. It's common. It's not normal. It's just that the practitioner that's been taking care of them, which is usually a medical professional, doesn't know how to teach a guy how to take care of himself. So it's very common for his testosterone to drop down, but it's not normal. See, because if you don't take care of your house, it's going to rot.
Yeah,
it's going to rot. And see, so I came along and said, listen, it's good to get these things tested properly and maintain them, but not from drugs. So, doc, do we give testosterone replacement therapy? No, because one of the major side effects, one of the things that can cause destruction, if you take the medication, one of the major side effects is actually aggression and actually murder. It's on the box. Do you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, so let's go a little deeper in what really made me known in the whole female hormone world. Well, we know testosterone is the major hormone. Now, there's more. You got to measure just more than that.
Yeah.
But so on the flip side, and every woman knows this when I ask them this question, what is the major hormone that makes a woman a woman? Now, Lee, I know it's not your realm and stuff like that, but just could you take a guess? What do you think?
Estrogen, isn't it?
Estrogen.
Yeah.
Every woman says that estrogen. Well, Lee, what if I taught you that estrogen is not a hormone, that the world has been misled?
I wouldn't have a clue, but you tell me more.
Well, think about this. And all the women that are listening right now going, Doc, hold the phone. You got my attention. If you were to look at the term estrogen, it's not a hormone. It's a term that describes many hormones.
Right.
So let's say this. So on a lab, if I put a lab up here of all the estrogens, so I just got to ask your female audience, when was the last time you had all of your estrogen measures, which encompasses at least 10 of them? And I've never in my career, and I guarantee not one of your listeners, unless they've seen a practitioner of mine, have ever had them fully measured. So then, Lee, I got a simple carpenter healthcare type question for you. How can we judge the psychological or physical aspect of a woman without having a complete picture of what's going on with their body? See, they look at fires, I'm looking at function. They look at diseases, I'm looking at how the body works and how to maintain and take care of it. And see, now if estrogen gets high, everybody sees pink ribbons all over the world, because if certain estrogen gets high, it'll cause breast cancer. Well, what if we could actually get to that and get that normal before that even happens?
Yeah.
See, so that's what people really want. It's that for you, it's not the thinking, and medical people have to leave their whole thinking. And that's why you say, well, Doc, if I look at some of your wellness ways, there are medical people in there. You're right. No joke. Downstairs, we just hired another here in Green Bay in my big corporate office that way. And we have a huge corporate office that takes care of all the offices across the world. We just hired a nurse practitioner in our Green Bay office. Now, once again, so she's trained in the fire department, but she got sick of it because she's like, I just keep on giving more drugs and stuff to people, and all it does is palliate their fire for a little bit, but they're still rotten on the inside, Lee.
Yeah.
And so I just came along and said, let's say that medicine has great value. I believe that if a person got COVID-19 really bad and they're going to die, I don't care what drug or surgery you use to keep them alive. But you know what's going to happen to those immunocompromised people that survived? They're still immunocompromised. And here's a different way of thinking of it. Here, watch this. I want you to think about something. I really want you to think about this. And I may do this, Jamie. I may do this just because this wasn't planned. But Jamie, you want to do me a favor? We got the adapter over here, but I want to show you something that's just vitally to change your life.
Okay.
So I came in contact with the most immunodeficient group of individuals that we all know across the world. And that's people that suffer from HIV. Okay. That means that those people can die from a simple cold because their immune system is so compromised. Their house is so weak. Do you follow me on my example? So, and I said, well, I want to check those immune cells to see where they're at. And guess what happens? Before that first patient happened to, and I think I was 26, 27 years old, he died. But here's what happened is, and I ran his immune panel, which is just like we talked about the estrogens, I ran a complete picture of his immune system, which doesn't show any disease. It just says, do I have enough Pac-Mans? Do I have enough antibodies to fight off any invader? Yeah. And he was very immune deficient. And before I even got his lab back, he passed away from a cold. Now, so imagine this. Instead of testing for a virus, why are we not taking a complete picture of what people's immune systems are at? Because that's why, if you notice, some old people over 65 got a sniffle and some people died. That's why some children died from COVID and some people, they didn't even get a sniffle. Yeah. See, because our approach, our thinking is wrong. And because therefore, how do you know if you're immunocompromised? What tests have you had done? But see, the medical field all across the world, even by you, tests for fires, diseases. Immunocompromisation is not a disease. It's actually, and sometimes you don't even know you're immunocompromised until all of a sudden you come in contact with something and it kills you. So now watch this, Jeff, or watch this, Lee. So here was that patient I was telling you about. Okay. So now remember, and I'm going to pull off a government website. And the reason I'm pulling off a government website, because here's why. People say, well, the CDC. Well, let's see what some government things are saying. Well, when I looked at HIV, now this is not what I looked at back when I was 26, 27. Yeah. So I went back to my own immunology books going through school. And I said, listen, HIV people suffer from these little Mr. Pac-Mans. You guys have the video game Pac-Man, right? Think about Mr. Pac-Man. Okay, I know it's my ignorance about foreign countries that way. But Mr. Pac-Man's CD4 cells are the actual Mr. Pac-Mans that eat up viruses and stuff and bacteria and bad things. Now watch this. If that CD4 count gets low, then you don't have the ability to fight off even like common cold. And that's why most HIV people die from a pneumonia. But watch this. This is the U.S. government Veterans Affairs website, HIV. But think about this, just this first sentence. It'll change your life forever. The CD4 count is like a snapshot of how your immune system is functioning. Lee, stop doing credible PCR tests because they teach them wrong. They do it wrong. They have too many revolutions. They basically are finding a particle and acting like it's an infection, which if they as much as they revolve it, it's actually very misleading. But don't you think everybody in your country, don't you think everybody in my country should get a snapshot of how their immune system is working?
Oh, yeah.
Man, because then if you come in contact with any virus, you should be scared if something's bad. So that's why I don't care what we've done to try to get through this pandemic. You still have a ton of weak people out there. And what's going to happen again? All you're going to do is bring weak people to an hour. Or watch this. And I give you both the political sides over here that are both wrong. Trump and Biden are still both wrong on this because Trump was like, let's get everybody back to normal. Cool. Then everybody's just going to go out, socialize. The people that are weak are going to die because they're already weak. And the people that are not going to die, not going to die. And the majority of people aren't going to die anyways because, once again, it's a 99.96 recovery rate if you're under 65. But here's what happens. But see, and so I tell people, but there's more. There's more cells. And no joke, you even go on the cancer websites, you talk about natural killer cells. They fight off cancer cells and infected viral cells. And there's great research about this. So here, I wrote a little panel that can be done in your country, anywhere that way. It doesn't matter. Labs are labs. But this doesn't tell fires. It tells how well your body, your house actually is.
Yeah.
And so watch this. So you have a person that has a low immune system. They should be scared. They're scared of every virus.
Yeah.
They should be scared of the flu. Here's a person that had cancer. Cancer is an immunodeficiency problem. Look at just massively low immune system.
Yeah.
And that's why you ever notice the people that were immunocompromised, like cancer people and everything like that, guess what happens? Because their immune system is already low. And so here's the thing that I believe, and this is what we stand for in the Wellness Way itself. The current medical view of our immune system here, by you, anywhere, is dramatically incomplete. How can we make judgments on a woman's hormones if we don't even test them all? How can we make judgments on people's immune system, how they're recover from this, if we don't even test them? By testing a little particle to see if you came in contact with the virus. Guys, there's more viruses in 1 liter of ocean water than there's humans on the planet. Yeah. You understand that? 1 liter of ocean water, there's more viruses in there than humans on the planet. We're not going to get rid of viruses. Viruses, actually, we have even our own virome that helps us against bad bacteria and things like that. But the idea is this. But if we can create a boogeyman, then governments can actually take power. Yeah. And that's what's really happening.
Yeah. So, it seems to me, Patrick, like you're so far in advanced compared to the rest of the medical profession. Like over here, we'll start having healthcare tests. You know, they'll say, come in, we'll test your blood pressure, we'll test your cholesterol levels. I think it's from when you're 40. But what you're talking about is this really should be, as soon as you start seeing the doctor when you're younger, these kind of records should be done and tests. And what I understand, the healthcare professional will say, well, we're busy firefighting, like we've said. You know, we're dealing with patients right now. But the reality is, if you nail it years before that person's ill, you'll stop it happening. So I suppose it's getting to a place where doctors can do it early enough and prevent it. But then it's like you say, the other side of the coin is these people that make money selling the medicines and the pharmaceuticals won't make the money anymore because people are not getting sick because everybody's healthy because we're doing the tests.
Yes. A true doctor actually will teach a patient what to do so their need for them goes down unless you get hit by a car. Do you understand? Yeah, and see, and you know, because I don't care how healthy you are. If I walk outside and I get hit by a car, I'm gonna have broken legs. I might have a bone sticking out. And here's what happens. So let's give medicine credit. They've been able to, that 50, 60 years ago, even before antibiotics, if you got a cut, you could have obviously died from an infection. Okay. But because some advances in medicine, but guess what happens? Give that credit for some survival, but it still doesn't make you healthy. It still doesn't. And that's something that everybody wants. And that's why people go, Doc, well, you're 46 years old. You'll outwork some of these 20-year-olds. Yeah, because they're already sick at 20 now. Do you know that when we were kids, Lee, type 2 diabetes was called adult onset? Adult onset. Yeah. But because of the lifestyles that we are poisoning kids with at such a young age, they had to change that because now kids get diabetes. Do you understand over in your neck of the woods?
Yeah.
10% of your full budget of healthcare is based on diabetes.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Madness. But why doesn't the government go, hey, guess what? And actually, if you look at COVID deaths, obesity is one of the biggest contributors. Why don't we look and go, stop pounding all the sugar? Well, no, can't do that because we make fat people feel insecure and we'll make people have to change their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you know why? Because I'm the kind of individual that says, listen, here's one thing why I'll never agree with universal health care. I will never agree with it. Because here's what happens for lunch today, I'm gonna have some organic sweet potatoes. I'm gonna have a good salad. Now I'm only eating for the next 10 days because remember, I'm not a vegan at all because meats are very healthy for you. But I use this, I'm doing a little detox for my liver and stuff like that. And we have a group of us doing it that way. But here's what happens there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go to eat crappy stuff all day long and going to scream that diabetes medication is so expensive and we need more tax dollars and more stuff of this. No, listen, because you know why? Because when it comes to universal health care, there's no accountability for people doing the right lifestyle. They just palliate them with drugs and say, we're taking care of you. No, with the doctors, you're looking going, you get type 2 diabetes medication to survive for a little bit, but if you don't change your lifestyle, I'm taking it away from you. If you die, that's on your own.
Yeah.
And see, that's why I can't do that.
And sometimes we're looking at it too late, but it's not a physical issue. It's not this person's eating. It's a mental issue that's causing the problem. And what I was going to say, Patrick, is what I would say over the last few years, everyone is a lot more aware of their health. You've got people turning vegan, looking at vitamins. You know, I look at vitamins myself, take some vitamins here and there, try and eat healthier because it's always in the back. So I think that's one thing. Like you say, I don't want to be negative. You know, the healthcare professionals, some of the things they do are amazing. Yeah, and I think people are a lot more aware, you know, I want more veg and it's got these vitamins and minerals. So we are getting there, but whether it's fast enough and whether things are going to change quick enough, that's the worry, isn't it?
Well, it's not going to change fast until people's money are affected. Because if you notice that we talk about this over in your area, 10% of the budget goes to diabetes. How much more are you going to tax your community to pay for people's bad lifestyles? Do you understand? And there's going to be people that are going to be like, we can't do it anymore. And see, that's the thing. And what it takes such great pain and stuff. And that's until there's enough people that go, no. And see, that's where it's like, it's going to change. It's going to take time because when it happens, it's going to take a shift. So I just said, listen, I'm just going to do it one interview, one person at a time. But because when finally people do make change is when they're suffering enough. See, and when the suffering, once again, I suffered enough instead of saying, okay, you're the doctor and I'm a teenager. I'm just going to listen to you. Even though I was still suffering, I said, no, there's got to be a different way. And I found out there wasn't. And I was like, all right, then I got to create one and stuff. And that's all the Wellness Way did. The Wellness Way actually just said, okay, listen, let's create a carpenter type of profession that can be done by amazing professionals that really want to help people gain their stuff. And once again, could I ever have dreamed that when I sat down, I started my first office on $500 that I borrowed from my mother. And I didn't come from a rich family. I came from very middle class. You know, my dad was a truck driver. My mom was a bank teller and stuff. And I borrowed the $500 from my mom that she put on her credit card to be able to buy some pens and papers and some stationery in my office. I had no phone when I started. No joke. I had no phone when I started.
No phone? How did you survive, man?
Yeah. Imagine this. Imagine you had to come to my office to make an appointment because you couldn't even call because I couldn't afford a phone. Do you understand? Think about that.
Yeah.
But then the idea, because the clinical results came, the idea spread like crazy. And next thing you know, I'm 26 years old, slam busy with women that their cycles were bad and can't get pregnant and blah, 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 and all healthcare conditions. And that's what happened. And then next thing you know, other professionals started to go, hey, guess what? And that's why even you see me be interviewed on natural things and medical things and stuff like that, because this idea, and that's why, for example, people say, well, doc, well, do you think people should get the vaccine? I don't care what people do, but there should be a choice. Yeah. That's where I will fight. And that's where I'll fight politically. And that's why I'm involved in that, because I don't care if you choose to eat all the sugary bad stuff and get type 2 diabetes all you want, as long as you don't say I'm responsible for it, or I don't have to do the same thing you do, because your choices will determine your health. And the vaccine does not make you healthy. Therefore, that's why I will never get it.
What's your, how are you being, how are the healthcare professionals looking at your services now? Are they coming more on board, or are they still, are you managing to work with them more and spread the word through them, or?
It's polarized. It's no different than our politics over here.
Yeah.
There's you have half that love it, half that hate it. I've never had a complaint ever in my career as a professional of almost 22 years. I got 12 in the last year just from my videos. And even though, once again, not a joke, I've never had a patient complaint ever in the history of my career. Let me make that state. I got 12 people that reported me to the board because they don't like my videos and what I say. Never once where they've ever stepped foot in a wellness way, even like that. I get death threats on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I have to travel with security. You know what I'm saying? When I do certain things. And all I'm going out and sharing the message of medical freedom and choice, and then sharing how the body works. And you got to remember, there's people that will die for their ideology and stuff. If you don't believe me, look at 9/11 that happened. People believe they're going to get 72 virgins flying into a building. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like people will literally take and literally be, because remember, to change a person's mind or an idea, they have to go through pain. People don't want to do that. People don't want to look and go, maybe I shouldn't eat that Oreo instead of taking that diabetes medication.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I think because you're so passionate, you're always going to be outspoken.
Yes.
And you're always going to have dickheads that, like you say, don't like people that are outspoken and passionate. And I think it's great that you're keeping that passion alive and you're pushing. And I think it's so important, because without that, where are we? Where are we in the world with opinion and anything really?
Yep.
So it is massively important. Where do you see the wellness way going, Patrick? What have you got, a 10-year plan, or what do you see for the future?
Just as I could tell you 20 years ago, my plan was always one patient at a time. I pray every day. I say, God, just give me one more patient. And what happened is now, I know it sounds funny because me saying this next statement is, I personally don't take any new patients, and don't, because I know people call me up all the time, say, Doc, you take it? No, but here's what happens is I literally pray every day saying, God, give me the sickest, give me stuff of that, because I know if it affects one person, guess what happens? It's mental herpes. It gets in their brain and they share the idea and it keeps on spreading and stuff like that. And could I have predicted 20 years ago that I'd have office in Europe, Hawaii, all over the United States, now going to Canada, now going to other countries that way, and even more in the United States like crazy? Could I have ever predict that? No, it was never a goal. My goal was, there's sick people that need help. And I want to have that form of healthcare that they can rely on to get the clinical results they want. And then once again, if someone comes and says, Doc, I break my leg, I'm like, go see the medical doctor, go get surgery. God bless them. Take as many drugs as you possibly need to not be in pain and knock you out. God bless them that they have that portion of it that way. Yeah. But there's a system of healthcare that we need on our side, that Carpenter viewpoint, that's essential for people to live a great life. And it says this, and a lot of that medical stuff is preventable. A lot of it is. Even they've studied that and stuff. But you don't see that on TV. You don't see that on anything that way, because they control. Do you understand that there's more medical lobbyists in the United States than there is lobbyists put together of all of them.
Oh,
There's
God,
more
yeah.
money spent on media from pharmaceutical drug companies. United States and New Zealand are the only places in the world that can advertise drugs.
Yeah.
Think about that. So of course there's so many, and remember that's why over here you see commercials like, ask your doctor if this drug is good for you. The doctors now are just middlemen. It's really sad.
Yeah,
and there's so many great individual doctors out there that want to do what's right. But imagine this, their livelihood is threatened if they even think outside the box.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got patients that, because you've been doing it so long, have you got patients that have stuck with you through all these years? And I suppose it's quite rewarding when you see someone that started off with you, who was quite ill, and you've turned that around to be a healthy individual that stayed with you through all these years.
Put it this way. Now, let me explain, because all the offices we have hundreds of thousands of patients like that.
Yeah.
I've seen my doctors for years and years and years. And I'm talking, I can honestly tell you, there was a guy that knew me since I was a teenager. He knew I was going to do this. As a teenager, he knew me. And he was down here this morning, just already his appointment Monday morning that way. And he's been here, and no joke, he's in his 70s. And he actually was sick. He got sick of what was happening to him, sick of taking all the drugs and stuff like that. And he said, well, I remember Patrick saying about this, and he's doing pretty good now. And guess what happened? That was a long time ago. That's the rewarding part, because here's what happens is we're able to offer them a service to keep their life the way they want to go, which is what's it. Every listener here wants to be healthy.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
Of course.
Yet, do me a favor, a simple question. Number one is, how many drugs do you need to be healthy? Number two, how many surgeons need to be healthy? And number three, who should make the healthcare decisions for you and your family, the government or you? And if you can answer those three questions, you know that everything I talked about, even complimenting medicine on what they've done to save a house from burning down, still doesn't help you reach what you want to do as a family.
Yeah, totally get that. Now, I always ask my guests for a bit of advice. So I think maybe the best bit of advice you've been given, Patrick, or that you could give someone within, what we've talked about. What could you think?
Get tested. See, that's the thing, because there's not one individual on this planet that's the same. I can show you two female twins that have dramatically different hormone levels. Do you understand? And you need to get tested. See, that's the cool thing. It's not take this herb or do these things as this or take this drug. It's first get tested, but you're not testing for a fire pathology. You're testing for function. You're seeing where your hormones are at. You're seeing your immune system at. You're seeing where your GI is that way. And therefore, now you know how to take care of it. You can figure out what each body needs, because each body needs different lumber. Each body needs different plaster. Each body needs different nails. And sometimes different rooms of the house actually need more attention. Somebody's heart, maybe somebody's GI, maybe somebody's brain. Do you understand? And they're all connected, because guess what happens? Our body's like a Swiss watch. They don't look at it like that in all healthcare films. Do you understand that, Lee, that your big toe controls your heart? You could have a big toe problem. Well, here, watch this. Do me a favor. I see the pool table. I want you to go over and stub your toe against the pool table. What happens to your heart rate?
It's a heavy, I know, yeah.
Your blood pressure goes up, your cholesterol goes up, all stuff like this. And you're saying, well, doc, that's kind of a weird example. No, it's not, because the number one reason why people go to doctors all over the world, number one reason, actually high blood pressure. Yet instead of finding out what stressed the body out, they chemically alter the blood pressure, and that never gets your blood pressure back to normal. So you need to find those things that are triggering everybody's body. And I'm going to give you a snapshot, because I know it sounds funny. I have to go to another interview here. And we'll transfer it over. My media team's gonna transfer it over. What happens is this? Think about this, and maybe we do another interview. The number one thing I can tell you clinically in my experience that destroys females is mental health. Okay, is stress. The number one thing that destroys males is actually sugar. If men reduce their sugar and women change their mental health, guess what happens? And change their stress levels. Guess what happens? There will be a dramatic shift in healthcare. See, and that's where we differ so much. Men and women are so different on the inside. And that's why everybody tries to tell me men and women are the same. It doesn't make any biological sense to me, because they're so biochemically and so physiologically different.
Well, look, Dr. Patrick, it's been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. It's so interesting and it's so relevant, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Because, you know, it's so uplifting, and it's great to have you on. Thanks so much
Thank
for your time. And like I say, yeah, definitely come back on the show, because I could just talk to you all day. And I know you're a busy man, but you look after yourself, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon, Lee. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye. So that's it. Massive thanks again to Dr. Patrick for joining me today, and also to you for listening. Make sure you follow the podcast, because coming over the next month, there are even some more amazing, extraordinary interviews. The podcast streaming on the usual platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, and also if you want to see a video of the chat, we're on YouTube. Just search My Way of Thinking Podcast. We pop up everywhere. Please leave a rating and subscribe where possible. To keep up to date with social media, Facebook is My Way of Thinking Podcast. I'm losing the will. And Instagram's MWOT Podcast. Finally, if you want to get in touch, email me. You'd be a great guest. I know you would. I believe in you. At MWOTpodcast@AOL.com. Come on the show. What's stopping you, big pussy? I'm only joking. You don't have to come on the show if you don't want to. Anyway, until next time, God bless.